Welcome to the Justin Hamilton podcast. On today's episode, musician Julian Sheldon is joining me. Julian is based in Melbourne, and I've known him all his life, actually. We will discuss that a little bit more in the podcast. A lovely guy, and it's interesting to talk to him about his career, but also talk about the music scene down in Melbourne and the challenges that all artists are confronting at this point in time. And specifically from the music side of things. Keep an eye out on the YouTube page or the Patreon site. I will link one of his concerts that he sent to me on YouTube, so you can have a watch and a listen to some of his music. But otherwise, do search him out. He's making some wonderful music at the moment, and I reckon we'll have him on later down the track. He's a good talker. I've known his mum and dad for a long time, and he definitely is a combination of them and also his own man in his own right. So I think you'll really enjoy hearing a new and different voice on this podcast. While I'm here, just a couple of things. The next newsletter will drop on Tuesday. So if you would like to sign up for that, head to justinhamilton.com.au. You can subscribe on the front page, and it's a free newsletter. You don't have to pay anything, and it comes out every fortnight, 10 a.m. every second Tuesday, and it has reviews, it has recommendations, it has opportunities for either discounted tickets to shows that I'm putting on or tickets to shows that my friends are putting on as well. Yes, that's right. My friends send me codes, etc., that I share via the newsletter. So if you would like to see some of my guests performing live, you can get some cheaper or free tickets through the newsletter as well. So I try not to spam you. It's every fortnight. So if you would like to sign up for that, it will also give you an opportunity to have more direct contact with me and also know what gigs that I have coming up as well. So if you would like to get your hands on that, please go and sign up. You may have missed, I wrote a new piece for Substack. It's about my latest experience at the Massive Attack concert that happened in Sydney just recently. It took me a while to write about it because I had to kind of sit on it. I had to think about it. I had to kind of sift through all the emotions and the intellectual churn that the concerts brought up. But I just thought it was magnificent, and I wrote a piece about that. It started off actually in the previous newsletter as an opportunity to get my initial ideas down, but I had to wait a little bit longer to go back over it, rewrite some stuff, and add quite a few more feelings. So it is honestly one of those concerts that I think I could just keep adding to this piece about, but you just got to get to a point where you go, that's enough, this is it, and put it out there. So if you would like to read that, you can find links to my Substack page via my website, justinhamilton.com.au. Right, now, I'll leave this up for now. So hang around at the end, and I'll give you a heads up of what's coming up in the next week, and some things that we can look forward to. So, let's leave it at that and bring in my good mate, Julian Sheldon. My mate Jules and I were just discussing that as white male creatives in Australia, the only time you catch up is on a podcast, and it almost gets to a point where you're having a conversation without a microphone, and you go, you know what, we should save this for when the cameras are rolling.
I tend to agree with you there, Juzzy. I mean, like, look, I'm a songwriter and you're a writer and a comedian, so I suppose we deal in cliches, but it is true. It's like this is literally the only time you and I have actually had to even vaguely be face to face, even if it's through a screen, for quite a long time.
For ages. It's been ages.
Too bloody long. Too bloody long.
Well, don't you think it's sort of like, it is a cliche, but it is kind of an indictment on the state of the creative arts at the moment that you're hustling so much that I don't know about you, but when I get downtime, I'm fucked.
Yeah, me too. I'm like that as well. Like I've been having to really, how do you put this? I've been having to be a lot more sort of intentional about
Right.
what I do in my downtime
Yeah.
with that. Because like for me, with playing music, it's sort of the thing of like, well, yes, it's something that I get to make a living off, but like I also love it. So it's that sort of
Right.
thing of like, well, a lot of my downtime, I love sitting down and playing guitar or banjo or working out stuff and having a bit of fun experimenting and doing that. So it's sort of like, it's that funny thing. I don't know if you find this probably with writing, but it's like, it's that way you've got to kind of like find the little happy little middle zone,
Mm.
the netherworld where fun and work both exist and
Yes.
neither bleed over too much.
Yes, yes, it's important. And do you find, like it's kind of uh, people who don't create music or write or whatever. It's one of the things that's overlooked, and rightfully so, because why would you think about it? Is but you have to fuel the
Mm.
imagination. You have to have information going in. And how do you do that? Do you look to other art forms? Do you look to different genres within the musical world that you're working at the moment? How do you fuel that
Well,
imagination?
my one is can come from. It's funny for me, like it can it's absolute rapid fire. It is quite a random thing for me, and I love that because
Yeah,
that keeps you guessing and keeps it fun. I suppose for me, it can come from many things. Like when it comes to writing a song, it might be something that it might be just a phrase that I say to someone. Like
right.
for example, I was back in Melbourne because I my wife and I live in Castlemaine now, but I grew
Mm.
up in Melbourne's northern suburbs in Preston, and I was back there staying at a friend's house for a show that I was playing, and I was coming home, um, and he lives up, up my old way, up literally in the rental that we were living in before we moved to
Oh,
Castlemaine,
right. Yeah.
and it was quite funny. And it was just my friend was texting me just saying about like where are you at now, and I was just like, and I said, and it was something I said to him about going, yeah, I'm just going past all the stuff that I've marked down as too familiar, and it was that line that spawned a song that I wrote recently called "Dreams Around Here"
Right.
about things being too familiar and in a place that you've grown up in, and everything looking the same, and realizing that your dreams that you had in mind for it have changed a bit, and it can be something like that, you know, or you can experiment by trying to emulate. Like I recently, as all good emotional white males should have, well, actually, just emotional males in general should have. I had a little bit of a Springsteen phase recently,
Oh,
and
great.
and I was trying to really like very much listen to like Nebraska and Darkness on the Edge of Town. I was trying to
Mm.
work out those sort of wonderful ways that Bruce, like my favorite Bruce songs, are the ones which I describe as being very cinematic. He can make characters up and set scenarios that frankly have more depth than a lot of films do. And I was listening to a lot of those characters trying to work out how I could write something like that. Turns out I can't, and the songs I tried to emulate like that sucked. But that's one way you do it. So it's sort of I think the gist of it is that inspiration can come from anywhere for me.
But was it the song that you wrote or the songs that you wrote were they failures or were they just not Bruce Springsteen? Because that's a high bar to have to try and pass.
It's a high bar, but I suppose for me, it's this funny thing I've had recently where, um, you probably have this too. It's like you kind of get to this point where it's not this sort of cocky thing, but you know what entails a successful artistic exploration from yourself.
Right.
You kind of know your elements. And I'm too whimsical to write something character driven about someone getting murdered, something like that, someone losing their job. I'm too whimsical. I'm
Right.
like, it's like funny thing is like, it's like if I was to compare myself in that way to any songwriter, it's probably my hero John Prine in that respect, because John could write songs about family, about life that were very, very beautiful and endearing like that, and very sort of charming in that very grounded way. And I suppose that's the only way I can really write. So Yeah, sometimes when you try that stuff, it's a good way to remind you about going, ah, yeah, no, that's right, yeah, that's right, that's why I don't do that. That's yep, cool, remember that
So,
now.
so less murder ballads and more tickle ballads, or
Yeah, pretty much, yeah, more tickle ballads.
but
Or
it's interesting to try that though, isn't it? Like
oh yeah,
there was a year, and I didn't tell anyone about this because sometimes banging on about your process to other people. If you want to see people's eyes cloud over, that's a good way to do it. But just one year, I decided to write. I think there were five main routines in a show I did called The Goodbye Guy, and I decided to approach them in different. The way some of my peers would approach them. So there was one routine that I thought, oh, I'm going to write this like Will Anderson would write this, and this one I'm going to approach like it's a Greg Fleet story. So the material was nothing to do with them, but it was just their style. And it was interesting that after the show, Will said to me his favorite routine was the one that I'd based on his style. And then and when I explained that to him, he was like, it was a funny moment. But then he then broke down how he would have done it within that style. And he said, so it was still your style. Do you know what I mean? Like it was an
yeah,
interesting thing to have taken the mechanics. It was still my style. He recognized it on some subconscious level and then explained how he would have done it within his style. So
absolutely, yeah.
it's fun to put your hands into the dirt of someone else's work and at least try, I think.
Absolutely, you got to. It's like it's part of one's growth. I mean, and also like the other thing is, as it goes without saying, like you and I are big Bowie fans. It's like one of the big things that David did well
Yeah.
was that sort of magpie, and it's something that I like. Is like you can listen to something and go, well, I can't do that, I can't emulate that, but this element is interesting.
Yes.
And that's something that I think is very important and can kind of make your voice more unique. It's like putting all those elements together in your own way is what gives you something, different to say,
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah, that's interesting, isn't it? Because that is the difference between, I've seen this argument that that's essentially what AI is doing. And
Mm.
it's like, well,
No,
not. It's
no.
actually not like that. You're taking inspiration from a part of something and then you're building something completely new out of it. You're not taking the actual work of other people and jamming it together to present something that is less.
I mean, I'm like AI. This is the whole stupid thing of it. Like AI can't take something and be like, well, what I want is the sort of heart. Like for example, going like, well, even though like in my case, even though this song is on banjo, there's this middle 8-bit that it's like, well, I need something that's very much like the guitars from the Heroes album that Robert Fripp was doing. So, but except the bit that I want in particular is this one bar of it where there's this sort of harmonized thing in an octave and all that. Yeah. Tell me AI can do that.
Yeah.
It can't,
Yeah.
because AI is not that anal retentive.
Yeah, when they bring out AR, then maybe I'll be
Oh
more
yeah, yeah,
interested.
yeah, exactly right, exactly right, exactly right. That's the thing. Like AI is not neurotic enough, and not
Yeah.
frankly fundamentally fucked up in the head enough to be an artist to ever replace artists.
It's interesting. You've been creative your whole life. Was it always going to be music, or did it possibly present itself as a writer of stories, or in any other kind of way?
Well, I think for me, that's a good question. Because yeah, I've always been creative. As a little kid, I was always writing stories, thinking a bit outside the square. And like, I suppose though, music, music was very much also like part of how I was nurtured in, because a lot of, because I grew up around my parents' record collection, basically. So,
Yeah.
and that proved to be the strongest influence, the most freeing influence I had. So I suppose for me, in that respect, whilst yes, it could have been other artistic mediums, music was the one I needed. when I need them the most.
Interesting. And that's quite fascinating. So then that need to kind of engage with it was what kind of sent you down in that direction. Can you
Mm.
remember the first song that you wrote?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I put it full for you. I still it's on my very first album
Yeah.
that my dear departed mentor Spencer produced, and I actually still play it in sets.
Ah, that's
Yeah,
so cool. And
yeah. It's
so what's changed from the first time that you kind of created it and performed it to now? Has there been big changes? Is it
very
more
little,
stripped back? Yeah, right.
very little.
Interesting.
In fact, it's just nice for me to be able to sing it and play it better.
Yeah. Oh, that's what you've added. More
Yeah,
skill.
yeah, exactly. Like it's nice to be able to sing it, sing it to its fullest. Now that I've had 20 years of singing and all that sort of thing, to be able to fully explore all the notes that I can capture on it, and with the guitar playing too, being able to do a bit more of that and be a bit more creative. And I suppose it's just the refining of it.
Yeah.
These songs travel with you, and the good ones are the ones that, no matter how many times you grow and evolve and change, you seem to find a way to be able to incorporate them.
Yes. Yeah. They kind of they take on a different resonance. There's a different point of emphasis.
Mm.
Sometimes songs from a young person can, as you get older, find a new depth. They can find a new
Absolutely.
level of fragility,
Mm.
and that can be quite fascinating. I saw Split Ends this year, and
Oh, you like the bugger? That sounds amazing.
I'd never seen Split Ends before, so this was a first time opportunity. And one of the things I found fascinating is that sometimes when you see older bands, you can really enjoy it, but there's a part of you that's like going, "Oh God, they're old, aren't they?"
Mm.
But because they were such weirdos when they were young, now they're eccentric. And I don't really feel like I've missed anything in those years. I feel like they've just become more split ends.
And I suppose with them, it's also like they had this lucky thing, which I suppose now I consider myself a bit lucky for, which is when you start really young, you kind of end up a little bit ahead of yourself.
Right.
So it's easier for songs to kind of come with you if they're songs that are probably, how do you put this, probably written from a voice and perspective that's a bit older than you actually are. So
Right.
I feel like for them, being able to see a song like Stuff and Nonsense, which is one of the all-time great songs
Mm.
ever written, I feel like that was written as like a very heartfelt young Tim sort of ballad. But now I suppose I would love to know this for sure from them. But I would look at that and from my perspective and think, I would be looking at that thinking it's a real fun sort of collection of the influences, so to speak. Like I look at that as like almost like a McCartney song that he never wrote. I reckon probably Neil and Tim would get some enjoyment from that.
Yeah, I think
As they
so
get older.
too.
Mm.
Yeah, there was there's because he can hit high notes anyway, but he can still hit them, but it's he's an older man, and it was
Mm.
interesting. Neil would come in and just very gently kind of accompany some of those high notes, and then there was a point in the concert where I think it was Stuff and Nonsense. And Neil said, "Oh, what a beautiful song. I'm so envious that you wrote
Yeah,
that." And then pretty much launched into Message to My Girl. And you go, Jesus Christ, this
I
family.
know. I know. They're incredible. They're absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
I love that. I got to say, one of the things that I love with that is that obviously those boys were from Mutu in Aotearoa in New Zealand.
Yeah.
And but what I love is that my mentor, Spencer, is the second most famous name to come from Mutu. And so, which is kind of funny that you got Finn brothers up first, and then you got, good old Jonesy, the down and dirty country guitar rocker, which is pretty funny. So
Yeah.
it's Jess and I, my wife, and I were in Aotearoa a couple of months back. I was playing some shows, and we had a little holiday with some friends. And we went through Te Awamutu, and that was really interesting. It was like it's how do you put this? of course you would fill your life with music, because while it's a town that's actually very young, and you can tell a lot of young people are moving there, and it's cool in that respect, and it was a bit more buzzing than I thought it would be.
Right.
It's definitely one of those places you can go, yeah, but back in the day, this would have been dead. And of course you would have turned to music, because you wouldn't be like, well, what do we do? Well, it's NZ, it's raining all the time. So what do we do? All right, let's go in the shed and play some music.
Yeah, yeah, and finding community through that as well.
Oh yeah.
I think that's where it's one of the interesting things as we get older and the world around us changes. But that sense of community through the arts has, in many ways, it's tipped into, I think, often the spoils of fandom, and people are very dismissive of fandom, and because I think there's such an awful loud element of it for every artist. Like I don't think there's one artist that you can mention that doesn't have a toxic
Oh yeah.
subsection of fans who ruin it for everybody. But for people like us when we were young, everything wasn't accessible, and being able to be at a party, and someone could say, oh, I don't know, I like Elvis Costello, and then you're like, oh, I like Elvis Costello.
Oh yeah. Exactly.
And then you formed a connection, and then you talk to that person for an hour going backwards and forwards. And I kind of miss that, because now I feel like you talk about being a fan of something, and people are I think people are either not connecting with art and entertainment properly. Like, they kind of think of it as content, and they think of it as a checklist. Oh yeah, I watched that. What did you think of it? Well, I watched it. Oh, I listened to that. What did you think of it? Well, I listened to it. It's like, yeah, but what are you engaging with? Or they're dismissive because they've read a review, or they've heard someone say something, and they're parroting a level of criticism that's come like 5 people deep before it even gets to them. But we come from a different approach to that, don't you think?
I agree completely. I mean, I also think that, how do you put this? To be able to call oneself a fan of something takes a level of guts and confidence. To be able to be like, no, this is what I'm about. This matches my values. I have values this can match. There is a level of me that is set in stone enough for this to be something that matters to me and relates to me. And I think that there is a degree of gutsiness that takes to be like, I am a fan of this. And I think in this modern age, where because of the way the internet is, everyone can be a critic, everyone can be a bully. And I think people are probably a bit scared of being able to plant their flag on something and being like, this is the hill I will die on.
Yeah, and in turn, there's people who are being way too aggressive about it as well. When you were a kid, what were you getting like? This kind of relates to when I was growing up in high school. Who were the artists that you were into, and who were you pushing back against in your peer group? Because to give you an example, in the 80s, I was listening to Bowie, I was listening to Elvis Costello, and that music was very much dismissed by a lot of my friends, and I hated Cold Chisel, just hated Cold Chisel with a blind fury. And then it wasn't until like my mid-30s that I was at a karaoke night at the Melbourne Comedy Festival, and I was standing next to Tom Gleeson, and 2 guys got up and sang a song, and I turned to Tom and said, "What's this song?" And he looked at me and went, "It's Bow River." And I was like, "Oh, who's this by?" And he went, "Cold Chisel." And I was like, "Hang on a sec, I hate Cold Chisel. I've never listened to Cold Chisel." And I remember going and buying a $19.99 best of CD, squirreling at home and listening to it. And you know what? Fuck, Cold Chisel's great.
Oh, I had the same thing. For me, it was the fun. I feel like everyone has their phase with Chisel where they go through dismissing it outright, and then you embrace it. And I'm getting to the question you asked about kicking back and stuff I was listening to, but it was Chisel. For me, it was listening to it was getting into the Tex Don and Charlie records and
Ah,
realizing how much of a genius Don Walker is, and then listening to Don Walker's solo career, and then finally going, oh man, she's brilliant. Like, my dad and I always talk about this. Flame Trees doesn't have a single rhyming couplet in the whole song.
oh yeah, of course, right.
Doesn't rhyme. None of the verses rhyme. I think there's maybe one rhyme in the chorus, but nothing else rhymes. You know, it's brilliant. Like the way Don Walker can set a scene, like in the song Breakfast at Sweethearts, those lyrics are just brilliant. Like I have friends who were around King's Cross in the 80s, and they always say this, like, oh yeah, that's the song that you work out how it was. That's the song that you listen to get an idea of what it was like. And it's brilliant like that. But that's how some bands are like that. It takes you years, and then you finally click with them.
Well, that's that's the sense of community, isn't it? Like the community that I was surrounded by were all calling the music I was into, all sorts of things. So you were, well, I hate your music, and then one day you listen to it and you go, it was pretty fantastic.
Yeah, I got to say, like for me in school, it was very much I was listening to obviously a lot of Bowie. I was listening to heaps of UMI, who are always one of my favorite bands. Go-Betweens, Triffids, a lot of that classic Australian stuff that I was really getting inspired by. And I suppose for me, the problem was that like there wasn't much I was kicking back against because I was kind of very isolated in school. Like there wasn't much. I mean, it was only when I went to my second high school for years 11 and 12, Swinburne, which is a bit more of an arty-farty school, that I kind of found stuff I was kicking back against I wasn't really enjoying. Like one band I've never been able to get to enjoy is the Strokes, stuff like that sort of stuff. And I just, and for me, it was like when I was getting into like the birthday party and all that, or people listening to like a whole lot of bands that were very much just kind of derivative of that. And I suppose that's what I found a bit like odd to kick against, because it was just a bit like, well, why don't you listen to the OG thing? Wouldn't that make you appreciate the rest of it more? But anyway, that's just me.
Yeah, I think we're similar in that, and it's not surprising, but for people who don't know, I've been friends with your dad since I was like 10, maybe.
Well, my dad, and this is the way to say this. I've been looking forward to telling this one. My dad was your babysitter, and
Yes.
and Dad still has the pictures you drew of Kiss. He still has them. He found them the other day at the house. He still has them.
Oh, that is so sweet. Oh man, your dad was an incredible male influence on me when I was young, and did not have much in the way of male influences around me. I still have the copy of Lodger that he found at a secondhand record place that he came in and said, "I found this for you." And I was like, "This is great."
He's a good man, Papa Sheldon. I'm very grateful to be his son. Let me tell you that.
Oh yeah. He was a good guy, and he, what he also introduced me to was he went home to the UK, and we caught up with him, and he had a VHS of this new show that we'd never heard of before, and he put it on for us to watch, and it was the University Challenge episode of The Young Ones.
Go Jezza. I love that.
Can you imagine being a kid, you've never seen The Young Ones, and that's the first episode you get with no run up, no lead up.
Drop straight in, and what an episode.
Yeah. And I'm watching Vivian's head come off after he sticks it out of the train and he's kicking his head along the ground, and I was like, that was one of the incredibly important building blocks of being into comedy.
Pretty seminal moment, that one. I mean, Jez is my dad. He's his sense of humor is something that I absolutely ended up with. Like,
yes,
it's him and I just have this great eye for the droll, the sarcastic, and the sort of like ridiculous. We just love it. Like we both live in that little pocket. And I mean, like he was getting me into stuff like, I mean, he was showing me like Peter Cook and Dudley Moore as a kid and all that sort of stuff. And it was just like, yeah, I love that I ended up like, I mean, obviously, and I got to put this out, my mum is absolutely hilarious as well. Like,
your mum's really dry.
Oh gosh, I
Yeah.
mean, she is just brilliant. Like she
Yeah.
is. There are moments where she would come out with something funny, and it's just like an absolute like mic drop moment. But Dad, I suppose I'm very similar with Dad in respect to how our sense of humor work, because it's sort of like we're both very much lovers of pop culture. We love sort of weird references to shit. We like love seeing the links and connections in things and how they can make people laugh. And yeah, his sense of humor is something that's brilliant. So I love that. I still always love that he showed you that episode of the young ones.
Oh yeah, it was fantastic, and he was also at the first Bowie concert I went to in
Yes, that's
'83.
right. He was, wasn't he?
Yeah, yeah, with your auntie.
Oh God, good old Helen. Good
Yeah,
old Helen.
yeah. So yeah, it's not surprising because he would talk to me about stuff as well, and we would dig into it, and he would make suggestions, and I think that's something that you and I have both carried into the
Mm,
stuff that we like now. We don't just want to if we love something, there's a desire to understand it as well.
absolutely. I mean, like, while there are some things in life that are beautiful mysteries, there are some things that are almost problems to be solved. And I feel like when it comes to music or art, then that is something where like you and I would just look at it and we're like, I want to see how does this work? Let's pull it apart and
Mm.
have a look.
Yeah. The just getting back to the music scene at the moment, I was speaking to a young artist up here, Liv Spencer, who is really young, finding her way in the world of music, trying to find her voice, trying to develop. Uh, Heaps of venues just
Mm,
closing down.
I
And
saw that in Sydney. It's terrible news.
yeah, it's really confronting, I think, for musicians and artists in general. We were both at the Massive Attack concert on Sunday, and there's a point in their concert where they, it was a visual and oral assault,
Mm,
and you didn't walk away from it going, I wonder what their politics are. Like you knew exactly where
exactly.
they were at. But there was a point where they kind of gave the history of K-pop and how it started off as back in '87 as an act of rebellion, and at some point they pointed out, where's the next movement going to come from?
Mm.
And I was wondering if you can give us some insight into how the Melbourne scene is doing.
Well, the Melbourne scene is a funny thing. I mean, obviously, Melbourne kind of copped it with lockdowns a lot longer than the rest of the world did, and it's still very much recovering. We're still strong, still good bands, still good venues. It's just no one is really thriving, and that is the sad fact of it: is that no one's really thriving. Like no one's really doing good business. People are buying less booze. It's
Yeah.
obvious that you know it's obvious that the idea of profit being in the entertainment industry being linked to the alcohol industry, that ship is starting to very much sail. And I suppose it's like with the Melbourne scene at the moment, everyone's very much hoping from venue land, everyone's very much hoping for something to change, something to get better. But I mean, the way people's patterns are changing, younger people aren't drinking. Um, a lot of younger people just weren't around gigs because of the lockdowns.
Oh,
And
so it's not kind of embedded in as something
yeah,
that they do, right?
and there was also the thing like because I was booking a venue while everything was kind of half opened, and there were still capacity restrictions. Um, the other thing was is that you had almost 3 years of bands not forming,
Yes,
so
of course.
3 years of community not building,
Yeah.
and so it's very much suffering. It just it's very much suffering from that, and the strength of more generations coming forward with new music is just not what it would have been. So Melbourne is struggling. Um, Make no doubt about that. It's still a strong live music scene, a strong live music city with great people involved in it. It's still struggling. Um, and I think, though, in general, what is interesting is also then you flip to the musician's perspective, of which because I've because one of my jobs is I do comms and I used to be a band booker, and I'm obviously a musician too. I can kind of wear both hats. From a musician's perspective, it's harder to get people out to shows. People aren't buying pre-sales as much, which
Mm,
is hard. So you have to really stretch your audience and really, really spam them. Um, and also, frankly, the cost of everything has risen like
yeah,
absurdly. So touring's more expensive. Printing and releasing a record is way more expensive.
yeah.
And it's becoming something where you're like, well, if you don't have a certain amount of money, you're just not going to be able to get through. And that sucks because there's the potential of that locking out a lot of very interesting voices.
Yeah, that's my big fear for the arts in general, that it'll get to a point where unless you come from money, you won't
Mm,
be able to explore any kind of artistic integrity that you have, and we'll just end up with a lot of the same types of voices. Whereas, you look back at the glam rock movement in the 70s, and you had an influx of all these incredible artists because the UK government pumped money into the arts,
exactly.
and people who probably couldn't have afforded to engage with that did, and then produced some of the wildest stuff that was foundational to for many artists for decades afterwards. And yeah, I do worry that just every song's going to sound like some arsehole singing with two silver spoons jammed in their gob.
Absolutely. It's like, if basic, especially for me as someone who's sort of in the, alternative country and sort of folk world, it's like, if you don't have working class voices telling those stories, then we might as well all shut up shop. Like, that was what started everything that we do in our genre. And it's the
Yeah.
same with punk as well. It's the same with, it's the same with most rock and roll. Like, it started with working class people. And is if it's going to become something that shuts them out, then you're not going to get good stories. You're not going to get good songs. They're not going to be genuine. At the end of the day, it's like you want to hear songs that, inspire and let people, and are about people overcoming. And, personally, that's what I listen to. I always loved that someone like Joey Ramone, who was an obsessive compulsive beanpole who, really found the world hard to be in. Joey was the classic example of punk rock where, he, took something shitty and made it beautiful. And I
Mm,
suppose if people haven't got something genuinely kind of shit to make beautiful, then it's going to lose something. I'm not saying everyone has to suffer for their art, because I think that is something that gets overly fetishized and probably gets encouraged in the wrong ways a little bit at points,
yeah.
just because it's like, we all can't be sad sack miserable bastards. Like, people got to get happy, people got to get well. But yeah, I suppose the gist of what I'm saying is that if people haven't got something very genuine, very heartfelt to say that comes from a place of that, then it's not going to land.
Yeah, and that's the we're kind of getting back to that AI argument where people are saying, "Oh, now anyone can make anything," and it's like, well, anyone's allowed to make anything. Like I don't have any problem with that, but I you got to work at it.
Absolutely.
Like typing things in and then this is presented. This is that to me is not art. Like it's
It's
learning the
not.
basics. It's learning the skills. It's think of all the times that something's failed. Like,
Mm,
like even just recently, you just said that you tried to write a Bruce Springsteen song. Like it's give and take. It's moving into
absolutely.
things, and that's what builds up the voice. That's what makes things artistic.
I mean, as I'm sitting here talking to you, on my desk next to me is like a song I was working on, been working the last couple of days, and I was just having a look at just before I joined you here. And it's like, it's taken me about like probably about 3 or 4 days to get this thing into a form that I'm feeling like, okay, this is working now. If you're not chipping away,
Mhm.
then it's sort of like, what are you discovering? That's the thing.
Yes.
What are you discovering? What are you
Yeah.
discovering if there's not a process?
Yeah, and yes, exactly. And also, I think people who don't create for a living don't understand that the process is everything. Like it's getting to the end is almost like a, I don't know, it's almost like a, oh, all right, that's done, and then you're looking for the next thing to build. It's not about just having something to show. It's
Mm.
about going through and taking bits here and taking a bit there and squishing this together and then going, oh God, that didn't work. And then pulling that apart because there's something intrinsically inside of it that is truthful, and then expanding it in a different way. And also the thing that we're seeing now is, you talk about the printing of CDs and printing of vinyl, and all of that is so expensive.
Oh,
But
so expensive. CDs are actually half affordable, which is why I did it for my last one. But vinyl is, oh my God, that's bad.
it's so expensive. And then it does seem like CDs, it does seem like physical media is coming back.
Mm.
Because, so a friend of mine made fun of me last night because I was talking about, that it's been such a stressful year for everybody. But the thing that's getting me through this year is I know I'll get the 4K for the Odyssey at the end of the
Yeah.
year. And she's like, what? I said, the Blu-ray. And she was like, do people still make them? I said, of course people still make them. But,
I know.
but we need the physical copies because as we've just suddenly, people are learning is that once these companies give up the license, even if you've paid for the song, for the movie, for the TV show,
They're not
if the
yours.
license is gone, it's gone.
It's gone. Exactly right. It's why I'm still so staunch about buying CDs and vinyl, and even I'm starting to build up a DVD and Blu-ray collection again because I'm just like, it's just over it. I'm just over the whole, vapidness of streaming. I'm just sick of it. It's like it doesn't. It's nowheresville in my
Well,
opinion.
well, also there's a part of me that's like I try to do the right thing because I want artists who have put time and effort into making stuff to be paid on some, even if it's
Me
a
too.
peanuts. But Jesus Christ, like I'm
Yeah.
paying for so many different streaming sites where you suddenly go, eh, you know, the illegal way sure seems cheaper because I don't feel like you guys are doing the right thing by me.
Yeah. Exactly.
I'm not
Exactly right.
encouraging it in
I
so
know.
many words, but if
But it's
anyone
like,
does it,
but there is a degree of conflict in it now, and
yeah,
it's the problem is that especially what we've discovered with things like streaming, with things like AI, in regards to art,
yeah,
just because you can doesn't mean you should.
yes. That is, man, like it's such a good point. Hey, I don't want to just get too bummed out about stuff because it
Yeah,
can be, but the is the album Jules Sheldon and the Boundary Riders, is that brand new or is that this year or when did that come out?
that album, Electric Transport, that album came out in October last year.
Oh, right.
October, yeah, October 2nd last year.
Yeah.
And just been busily touring it and it getting airplay and all that sort of thing. And it went. I mean, it's funny. Like it was my first in a long time, and it was really lovely seeing it get received so well. And I suppose due to a few reasons, one of them being, and I'm very open about this, and I'd like to advocate for it. I'm neurodivergent, so I have ADHD, and I'm probably autistic as well, which, pending a very expensive screening, I will know more. And I finally got medicated for my ADHD and got some treatment to help me with some of the autistic and ADHD stuff in regards to just how I can navigate life. And what it enabled me to do with music was to be able to just give it one big sustained shot. Because what would happen in the past was I would do something, put out an album, go on tour, and then I'd just collapse into a heap and burn out.
Yeah,
And
right.
and that was just holding me back. And it
Yeah.
was awful. I was never able to live up to my potential. Now I can. And I suppose what's great about it with this album, Electric Transport, it's the first one I've released where I've been able to really be able to push it and really be able to be completely present in regards to doing what needs to be done for it. And what's been very rewarding is the successes from that have shown themselves. People really liked it. I kind of have an audience now, which is amazing. It's like people say to me, "Hey, that really like new album," stuff like that. You're like, it's lovely. So I suppose one of the big things about it is, yeah, it did better than my previous ones, but I suppose it's also just wonderful to seeing the outcomes of how, like, actually being able to be in my right mind and being able to pursue my art to its fullest, how it can reap rewards as well.
Yeah, that's so fantastic. Did you suspect that you were neurodivergent before? Like, was there an idea that there might be something on with
Oh yeah.
autism and ADHD, or did you not? Was there a period where you were like, why can't I focus? Why can't I kind of
Well,
keep myself going?
it's sort of like for me, it was lots of sort of misdiagnosis being thrown across my path. So that were almost distractions. People would say you have terrible anxiety, you have terrible depression, you might be bipolar, things like that, and none of it really getting to the point that you know it's these things. And I suppose for me, I always suspected there was something a bit different about me because it was like I would see how normal people would be navigating the world. And I would just be looking at that going, I cannot do that. That is just not how I operate. Like my brain can't pivot to that. And I suppose the more I've been able to embrace it and being able to change some of my own processes, whether it's with work, just in life and all that sort of thing, I'm able to actually thrive now. So in that respect, I always suspected I was a little bit different.
Yeah. And
Always.
thankfully you've got, great parents as well
Oh
who
yeah,
would
absolutely.
be, right there behind you with all of that. With the ADHD diagnosis and getting on the medication, have you noticed anything specific about the way it affected your writing?
Oh, you got an hour. It's I'm able to pursue an idea. I'm able to pursue an idea much better. And so it's this sort of thing of like writing is something that I am genuinely doing. So it's something that, I'm writing more than ever. Like I had about a week ago, where I wrote 7 songs in 1 week. I've never had that before.
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty remarkable. Two of them are actually good, which is pretty decent strike rate as well. And actually,
That
no,
is
sorry, it's
actually
three.
three. Yeah, that
Three.
is
No, three of them were
incredible.
good. Three
Yeah.
of them, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
And so that's like I can actually write heaps. Like I had a moment recently. I was just in my music room where I am now. And I was having a little play before bed, and I suddenly had this moment. I saw the songbook that I finished last year. I started in 2009. So that's a long, long time for a for a songbook to get filled up. That is a long time. And then I looked at my current one that I started last year. And I started it like maybe about September last year. And it's halfway full already.
That's great.
But yeah, it's amazing. So I'm actually able to write in sustained quantities to be able to really jump on sort of these bursts of inspiration that I have, which is fantastic. And my mind is a lot more calm in regards to being able to complete something. It's easier to explore concepts because of that calm of mind. But also, I'm not pushing myself into burnouts because my brain isn't doing as much of a dopamine seek as it would have wanted to do from songs pre-medication. So I'm not pushing myself into a position where I feel like I can't, I'm not writing anything good or anything like that. I'm actually kind of able to go, that is not the time to be writing something.
Yes.
So
Yes.
it's allowed a much more calm and sort of deliberate process to happen.
Yeah, I recognize that that ability to kind of, you give something a go, and then you're just like, if I'm not careful, sometimes you should push yourself through something, but
Mm.
sometimes you kind of know on some level that if you keep working on this idea, you're probably going to ruin the idea because
Oh yeah.
you're not in the groove.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're just going to push it into something that feels forced and strained and just it wears thin.
Hmm. And this, the latest album as well was the first one because you lost a close friend,
Mm.
and there was a period where you were uncertain about writing a new album, weren't you?
Yeah, I mean, basically what happened was both of my mentors who took me under their wing when I was only about 15 and was pretty troubled, pretty mentally unwell kid. They, saw me play. My mentors, Spencer P. Jones and Brian Hooper from the B Suburban, and they believed in me. And unfortunately, in 2018, they both died within 6 months of each other.
Oh,
And
awful.
yeah, it was a horrible year, horrible year. And they believed in me when I didn't really believe in myself. And I suppose, I almost quit because I just had enough. It was just like everything was reminding me of them. And I just kind of didn't feel much happiness from music. It was just this sort of place that I just constantly felt sad about losing those guys. But thankfully, I found my way, which is
Yeah.
great because I know that the last thing on this earth they would want would be their deaths to make me want to quit.
And also, I don't think there is, and people don't talk about this, but I don't think there is anything wrong with taking a break from your artistic endeavors, especially if you're not feeling it. Because I think
Absolutely.
when you do return to it, you come back with a new sense of vigor and inspiration. And I think you end up loving it more than when you were consistently engaged with it.
Sometimes you have to stop to give yourself the sort of clarity of mind to objectively look at it.
Mm.
And stopping for a while can just be simple things. And can allow simple things to happen. And one of the big ones is, it makes you appreciate how cool it feels to write a song, how great it feels to do a performance, all that sort of stuff. And it allows you to go, yeah, that's right. That's what this is about.
Yeah. And I'll have to let you go in a sec, but what would young Jules think of the music that current Jules is making?
That's a really good question. I think he'd be pretty happy about it. And I think I think he'd be pretty stoked about it. I'm always in touch with that young Jules, and I always
Yeah.
try to be, and I always think of him a lot, and I always hope he's proud, and I think he would be. So it's nice to be able to look back on yourself and go, yeah, you'd be about this.
Yeah, you got to hold on to that young fella that you once were, because I think that's the person that keeps the sense of wonderment still going. That's the person who
Absolutely.
allows you to still engage with things in that way that you're still open to new ideas and you're still open to having new experiences.
Well, you've got them to thank. They're literally your ground zero. They're literally where it kicks off. And if you're not doing things that they would be proud of, then there is a degree of that you have to grow beyond that person to be able to push yourself. But there is also a few key values of that person that you have to keep in mind and keep close to yourself.
Yeah. This is going to go up next week, and I hope do you mind if I also post the live gig that you sent to me to have a look?
I would love that very much. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll share that with everyone so they can people can watch you in action and have a listen to your music. Where are the best places to find you?
So the best place to find me is on Instagram, which is as Jules Sheldon Music. On Facebook, which is also Jules Sheldon Music. And on Bandcamp, which is also Jules Sheldon Music.
This is great. This is good. I'm happy for you to keep the same thing everywhere.
It's a vibe. It's a vibe. I when I do shows, I will bring out my mailing list and also sell merch at shows. So please sign up for the mailing list because I do mail outs and Brevo, which I need to add you to that actually. And it's they're basically the place to find me, and also just give us a follow and keep up with shows, and I'll keep announcing them if you guys keep coming.
Do you have any live shows coming up?
I've got one booked in on the 25th of September in Melbourne at Nighthawks. I'm opening for this young band called Nah, who are very lovely, lovely, lovely young guys who all just really enthusiastic about what I do, and I'm a firm believer, and you got to support the future generations doing good things. So I will happily be the old guy opening.
This is hurting my soul that you are the old guy opening for the young band.
Yep,
Well,
it's
it's happening, Jules.
I started young, so it means you grow old quick.
Yeah. Well, you're looking great. So nobody
Thank you.
would know. Nobody would know that you're the old man of Melbourne rock and roll. Hey, also, was it your mum's birthday yesterday?
Yes, it was. Yes, it was. I was on the 11th, actually, on Tuesday.
Yeah, yeah. Wish Sue a happy birthday for me,
I will.
and give your dad a hug for me. I remember we had dinner one night, and man, it was so funny. You and your dad were.
Oh, yeah.
It was like those old, Peter Cook, Dudley Moore records going backwards and forwards. And you're right.
Oh,
Your mum's just sitting there looking at me, her eyes rolling, throwing in a drab comment. And
Dad, no, it's scary. It's really scary, but it's
and
funny.
and also you said something that night that your dad pushed back against, but I reckon you were right. And then I was reading a book many years later where someone made the same made a pretty similar comment, and it was
Yes.
that Lady Grinning Soul off the Aladdin Sane album was like a lost Bond track, and your dad
Yes.
was not having it. But
Yeah, I loved it. I loved it. I say that, and it's like Dad's like, no, it's not. I don't see that at all. No, no way. No, no, no. No, no, it's not. No, no. But then it's like everyone else is saying it, and then then you read that, and then I read it too. I was like, yeah, suck
yeah,
on that, Jezza.
yeah, that's a win for Jules, and
Oh,
I'm here to witness it.
absolutely. I'm glad, and now we've made it public that I won.
Yes, everyone's got to keep score, mate. So good to see you, and I look forward to seeing you in person without microphones. Hopefully, much sooner than later.
Well, I mean, we got to get out. I mean, we should spruik this idea that we've had for a while, which is
I know.
pretty funny, which is something that we both want to try and do if we can tee it up and be in the same place, which is do a show together where I open with a music set for you doing one of your stand-up sets, and we literally bill it as like the only way these two people can actually hang out.
Yes, come. We'll charge money for people to see us finally
Yeah.
meet up in person.
Exactly. It'll be fantastic. It will
Yeah.
just be, it'll be great, and as it go almost, as we're looping back to what we said at the start, it's literally the only way one can actually hang out with your creative friends in this
Mate.
climate.
Mate, that's the only way. All right. Thanks, mate. That was great.
Great to see you, man. I'll catch you soon.
Big thanks to Jules for joining me today. Isn't he an interesting guy and absolutely lovely? He's a real character, and that's one of the things that really appeals to me about him is that he's just unlike anyone else I know, and I really enjoyed chatting to him and look forward to having him on the podcast again. Keep an eye out on the YouTube page or the Patreon page, and I'll make sure that I link his live stuff as well on Facebook, so you can go and check that out. But of course, you've got Google, you can find him as well. So check out his music on whichever sites that you prefer. Yes, so next week. I haven't recorded them yet, but I'm recording with Dave Anthony over the weekend. I'm recording with cult author Garth Jones, and we should also have a new episode of Lanterns. So that's coming up soon. Also, Alex Hammond, the author, will be returning. He has a new book coming out soon. So Alex and I are going to record a podcast. We've both been circling the movie Seven for a while, and we thought we'll get Garth to join us as well. So we'll discuss the movie Seven, and then that'll give me an opportunity to read his new book. And then closer to when that is published, we'll do a deep dive on his latest novel. His last trilogy was fantastic, so I'm looking forward to reconnecting with him soon. And then we'll be getting Mulk back soon. We'll have Tegan returning. We haven't caught up with Alexi for a while. And of course, Will is always going to be lurking amongst these podcast halls. So keep an eye out for that. If you would like to sign up for the newsletter, if you would like to be able to access live shows that I've done, if you would like to watch my Interstellar routine. Yes, I uploaded my Interstellar routine to Instagram. You can find all of those links at my website, justinhamilton.com.au. If you like my writing, Substack's probably the place for you. Patreon, if you would like to support this podcast for as little as $5 a month, you can get not only access to bonus podcasts, one-off filmed events, free tickets to live shows, all sorts of things. So you can find all of those links over at my website. And of course, I know money is really tight. I know time is really of an essence. I know a lot of you out there are doing whatever you can just to get through the day. If you would like to support this podcast in ways that are easier and cheaper for you, writing a top review on your favorite platforms is really helpful, or even just word of mouth, suggesting this podcast to your friends, telling them everything we're doing here is aiming to celebrate art and entertainment and look at different things that maybe you're missing and show you things in a different light. So we're trying to do positive stuff here. That's the main goal. Not always easy on the Dave Anthony podcast, but that is the main goal of the Justin Hamilton podcast. So either way, that's great. But you know what? If all you do is listen, that's a lot of support as well. So thank you very much. Okay. I'm going to get going. If you're listening to this before the weekend, I hope you have a good one. If you're listening to this during the weekend, I hope it is fun, relaxing, whatever you want it to be. And I look forward to having your company early next week. Keep an eye out for the newsletter on Tuesday and the next podcast, which should be with Dave Anthony. All right. Look after yourselves. Take care. Until then.